there, Lashpreneurs. We're going to talk about pricing today. Yes, make that money. How do you raise your prices? When do you know to raise your prices? How do you start off low and then get high? Should you go high and then go low? There's a lot of confusion and not a lot of information out there about our pricing. The only formulas that I knew of before getting into the Lashpreneur world was pricing out the product percentage that you would use on a client. So our cost of product per client was anywhere from like $3 to $7, but that doesn't take into account the other expenses like your overhead, your rent, your booking software, even the waste of the product that you don't use. Most of us don't use an entire bottle of adhesive. So are we really supposed to say that we're only using 4 drops of adhesive per bottle per client? Or is there some other way to dictate our pricing that covers all of our expenses and maybe even pays ourselves? That is a formula I'm going to share with you today, but also to explain to you the question you should be asking. That's not, how do I know if I'm good enough to raise my prices, or how would you price yourself as a beginner and time your pricing increases about. There is a strategy that I teach inside of the Lashpreneur Society that I'm going to share with you today on how to price yourself, when to do a price increase, and why you should be doing a price increase. So stick with me. So there's really a better question to be asking than knowing whether you're good enough to raise your prices. Most lash artists are perfectionists by nature. So if we're waiting on us to feel like we're good enough, it's going to be a long time that we're working for really, really inexpensive prices, when that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Now, some of you more confident lash artists are like, yeah, I know I'm good enough to raise my prices. I'm just afraid to. Don't worry, I'll give you a strategy on how to do that. But if we're just waiting around for our gut feeling to tell us it's a good time to raise our prices, it's not really a fantastic business strategy. Yes, instinct and gut is a great way to trust yourself and what decisions to make in your business. But until you have that confidence in yourself to know when your gut is right, it's kind of a risky thing to wait until you feel good enough, because most of you may not ever feel good enough to charge the type of prices that you should be charging. I mean, somebody's got to be the most expensive in your town. Why not you? And a lot of you just went, I would never be the most expensive. Why not? Somebody's also got to be the cheapest. Oh, I don't want to be the cheapest. So, well, there you go. You're somewhere in the middle. You're not the cheapest and you're not the most expensive. So there's a few perspectives I want to share with you today that can help shift you to start asking the right questions so that you can get started getting your own answers, because I really have no idea about your business, but there are steps to be taking for every single lash artist to get to in their business, and pricing plays along with where you're at in your business. So step number 1, question number 1 is, am I able to pay myself? This is the first step in understanding whether you're priced too low. If you cannot pay yourself, then there may be a possibility you're priced too low, or that you need to have supplemental income in order to get the experience and skill set under your belt in order to charge a higher price. You are going to have a very tough time charging premium pricing if you can't get your lashes to last more than a week, or if you can't get more than 50% coverage in like a 3-hour time span on Classic. So when you're just starting out, yes, you're not likely to be able to pay yourself a livable wage right off the bat. So I do recommend having another job to support you with income. I don't necessarily recommend having another job in the lash industry, because we don't want to get involved into messy non-competes and stealing clients and all that kind of jazz. Find some other BS job that you can work part-time, full-time, whatever, to be able to support you while you're working on your skill set as a lash artist and then growing from there. If you do have a decent amount of clients and you're still not able to pay yourself, then yes, you are likely priced too low. We want to include paying you as a part of your overall expenses, as your part of your overall business strategy. And this is not true to just lash artists and lashpreneurs. Like, a lot of business owners struggle with paying themselves. They always want to throw everything back into the business because they think if they keep the business afloat, then that'll keep them afloat, but they're not paying themselves in the first place. So they're not staying afloat in their personal life. I take a different approach. I prioritize owner's pay, or the entrepreneur pay, as a part of what you're building out with your business. So I went over your break-even pricing in episode 3 of the Lessons of a Lashpreneur show. So I highly recommend, if you haven't gone through that or you haven't gone through it in a while, go through the break-even pricing and see just how much you need to be charging and what your ideal number of clients is when you're just starting out, to see if you're break-even, if you're priced at a break-even price point. Some of you may find that you're actually $10, $15, $20 below your break-even pricing. So that's a cue for you to know that you do have to increase your prices sooner rather than later. And then in episode 4, I talk about your goal income setting, which I'm going to get into in just a second. So if you are now able to break even in your business, meaning that all of your expenses are covered by what you bring into the business, and you're able to pay yourself the bare minimum you need to pay yourself in order to survive, then we can start to work on goal income. So this is where you start to market yourself once you're breaking even, to start building a clientele to then become fully booked. So if you're in this phase where you are priced around, give or take a few dollars, your break-even pricing, then you're going to want to set a goal for yourself. Not the big long-term goal, not like I want to be doing 6 figures. If you're just starting out or you're just now at your break-even price point, you'll get there someday, but we got to have some milestones on the way. So in episode 4 of the Lessons of Lashpreneur Show, I show you how to set your goal income and to figure out how many clients you need and at what price point for you to reach that first milestone in your business. So once you kind of get this pricing in place, you need to start working on getting more clients in at that price point that you're at. So as long as you're breaking even, this is where we start to get more clients into our business to start making more money in our business. So focusing on marketing, target marketing, making sure we're getting the right types of clients in who can afford lashes and come back for their ongoing maintenance. As lash artists, our bread and butter is our fill appointments. Full sets come and go, but when you start to become fully booked, it's because you're fully booked with regular fill clients coming in at a regular interval of time. So you want to make sure that you're prioritizing getting to that fully booked stage. And it's not, you're not fully booked at 100% capacity. If you were fully booked for every hour that you worked, you were working with a client, you would be miserable. You would be risking injury, burnout. You'd probably have a bladder infection because you'd never have time for a break. You don't have time to work on your business. You're solely working in it. You're becoming like a puppy mill of lash artists, and you're just pumping out client after client after client. What I want to caution you, and what a lot of people get to with this phase, is they start adding on clients at the beginning of their day and the end of their day when they start to get really busy. And this is killer for you to be able to raise your prices in a strategic way. So I'll get to that in just a second. But I do want to make sure that you understand that fully booked is not 100% of your time worked is filled with a client. Shout out to my buddy Paul at Lashcast Podcast. He shared in, I believe it was Eyelash Magazine, being fully booked is 80% productivity. That means 80% of the hours that you are scheduled to work are filled with clients. That would be considered fully booked. And I share a formula for that inside of the Lashpreneur Society when you get to the stage of being close to fully booked and determining how you know if you're fully booked or not. Okay, so now you're fully booked. What happens now? So now is a very precarious time. It's a great place to be in. It's also a very stressful place to be in. Having been there myself, it can be hard because you start to not be able to move clients around when they want to move around. They stop wanting to share your information because you're already so hard to book with. They start complaining that they can't get in on time. I mean, it just becomes the people pleaser in you starts to get a little scared or worried that you're going to lose clients because you're so busy, right? I know those of you who aren't fully booked are like, that's a problem I'd love to have, Tara, but I don't have that problem. So my suggestion for you when you get to the point where you're getting fully booked is to start a wait list, right? We want to stop accepting new clients and just kind of see how it plays out. You know, when we do have a big gap in our schedule, like if we have a 2-hour block, we either take time off or we can fit a client in there. So generating a wait list just in case things start to slow down. I also want you to stay in this wait list phase for 2 to 3 months. So we want to make sure that it is not a seasonal thing that's happening. Like if December is our busiest month of the year around Christmas time. If you are solid booked for the last 5 or 6 weeks of the year and you're like, okay, great, I can now raise my prices, and you raise your prices in January, that's kind of a bad time to do it because a lot of that demand during November, December is likely to drop off. So increasing your prices along with that drop off may be very detrimental to your overall business. So we want to wait at least 2 to 3 months in this wait list period of you being fully booked to really gauge the demand for your services. And if you get past that 2 to 3 months and you still have the same demand, you're still around that same amount of productivity, then you are in the best position possible to then raise your prices and by a lot, and with some very clear and intentional strategy in your business. So once you've reached this 3-month mark of I've been fully booked for the past 2 to 3 months, this is not a seasonal thing. This is just I've created this much demand for my business. Guess what? Demand dictates price. If you have no demand, then your price point really can't go any higher because there's not demand for it. But if you have a lot of demand, your time becomes worth a heck of a lot more than anybody else. And you can be a terrible lash artist and not do good lash work and still be in high demand and charge high prices. Y'all have probably seen that around your area. You can't believe somebody charges what they do because your work is so much better. How do they charge more? Blah, 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 blah. So this is where you get to raise your prices, and by a lot. We're not talking any of this $5 to $10 crap. That is just going to come out of your tip. That's not enough for you to be working less and making more. We want to be intentional at this point because the demand is there for your services. And I know some of you may have some money hangups where you're like, I don't want to extort my clients, or I feel guilty when I raise my prices because they can't afford it. When you have this kind of demand, this is the beautiful spot of being an entrepreneur, because now you get to work smarter and not harder. So if you raise your prices by, let's say 20%, which you can figure out by doing your current fill price times 1.2 on a calculator, so that'll increase your price point by 20%. That's what you should be charging, and you should expect to raise your prices by a minimum of 20% increase across all of your lash services. So let me give you a quickie math example to show you how this actually gets you to work less and make more. I know, sounds ridiculous, but the numbers don't lie. So let's give the example that you do 80 fill appointments a month. So that's working 4 days a week, taking 5 clients a day. And let's say on average, you charge $50 for a fill. So your total revenue for the month at 80 fills a month at $50 a fill is $4,000 a month. You can do the math along with me if you want to go through it, write it out. So it's $4,000 a month. So let's say you raise your prices by $15 and you anticipate losing about 10% of your clients, or 8 clients in this example. So you're raising your prices with the anticipation of some clients will not be able to continue with you or won't want to afford it, or they'll go elsewhere. So you're expecting some drop off. So now you've lost 8 clients after you've raised your prices. So you now have 72 fill appointments in a month at $65 a fill. Heck yeah, you're now making $4,680 a month. So you were doing $4,000 a month, 80 appointments, $50 fills, and then you raised your prices by $15 and you dropped off 8 clients and you just gave yourself a $680 raise. The numbers don't lie, people. So that's how you can work smarter and not harder. That essentially just gave you an extra half an hour in a day that you don't have to work, and you actually get paid more. What? Bananas. I know. So for me, and in most cases, when you raise your prices, you will find that you don't have very many clients that drop off. People are always more afraid of how many clients they'll lose than who actually stop coming to you. When you've built up this kind of demand, people understand that, they got to pay the price to keep the lashes looking good. So the key here is not to jump the gun or make uninformed decisions or just guess at what moves to make in your business. There really is this step-by-step process of, I'm here, this is what I do, this is what I'm working towards. I'm here, this is what I do, this is what I'm working towards. So if you're a full-time lash artist, or if you're just a new lash artist, and you're not quite full-time yet, then you do need to have something else supplemental, or, if you got a sugar daddy who's paying for things, then you need to be working towards getting to where you can charge break-even pricing and make sure that you are paying yourself a minimal pay every month to just cover your personal expenses and to cover the business expenses. Once you're in that part, then you need to start working towards working full-time in your business and then building a clientele to become fully booked. Once you're fully booked, then you want to raise your prices with the intention of dropping off some clients so that you can work more and make less and free up your time to either enjoy your life a little bit more or to start working in the business to then grow it to whatever the next level is for you. But you can't do that until you have the time able to do it. So if you're fully booked and you're ready to raise your prices, you're in that 80% plus productivity range, then I highly recommend you download the guide that I have that's totally free at thelashpreneur.com/raiseyourprices. I give you my email template that I would send to my clients, the step-by-steps of how to inform them and let them know and when to raise the prices, and the what not to do when raising your prices as well. And on one final note, this is just a taste of the strategy and the teachings I teach inside of the Lashpreneur Society, my business coaching program just for lash artists. It teaches you when you're in this phase, this is where your focus is. Don't worry about all the other things. Don't worry about what's next. Just focus on this one part until you're in the next phase. In the next phase, we focus all of our effort on being in that phase and getting you to the next phase. So it is very step-by-step strategy. So you're only focusing on the things that are important to where you're at in your business to get you to the next level. Now, if you got any ahas or this really helped get you some clarity in your business, I can't encourage you enough to sign up for the waitlist to be notified when we do let new members into the Lashpreneur Society. If you got ahas just from what I taught today, you are going to have such massive success when you get it mapped out for you and laid out for you step by step inside of the society. So head on over to the lashpreneur.com/society to get on our waitlist so you can be notified the next time that we open up registration to new members. And seriously, guys, there's so many ahas waiting for you inside that program. And I can't wait to open it again. We've still got some time before we're going to open it, but I can't wait to get new people in there because we've had so many wins from our members so far. Anyways, that's what I've got for you today. Happy business building, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.